Are we ready? Okay. I'll call to order the City of Indio Joint Council Meeting with Indio Water Authority. My name is Wayman Furman. I am the mayor of the City of Indio. I'll be chairing this meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Holmes.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Present.
Councilmember Ramos Amit.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz.
Present.
And Mayor Furman.
Present. All right, the next item is an invocation. Do we have someone for the invocation?
Yes, we do.
Okay, the city does not endorse or the content of the invocation does not endorse the invocation of speaker's political, particular faith or belief, religious denomination. If you want to step out, feel free to step out. If not, we'll all stand and join the speaker for the invocation.
Please join me in prayer. Holy God, we thank you for this evening, for the opportunity to serve you in our great city of Indio. Thank you for all of the growth we have experienced in these last years under the council's steady guidance. I ask that you give wisdom and strength and blessing to each member of the council and all who serve in this city, that they would rely on you. Help them to govern our city with justice and compassion for all who live and visit the city of Indio, California. I pray in your great name. Amen.
Guys should remain standing and please place your right hand over your heart and face our flag for the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Ready? Next item is item number 4, City Attorney Report and Closed Session. City Attorney, Ms. Diaz, do we have a report?
She's actually not.
Oh, she's not in it? Okay, I don't believe we have any reportable items, so we'll move on to item number 5, which are presentations, and we have a presentation for new employees and promotions. City Manager.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. In fact, I think if this whole council can join us.
Why not? Let's go.
Great. As the council's gathering, it's my honor and privilege as the leader of the city team, Team Indio, as we affectionately call it. I get to welcome, and the mayor and city council will join me in welcoming the newest members of Team Indio. It is true that our most valuable resource is our human resource. And we have actually 7 individuals that are starting as the newest members of Team Indio. And as we're affectionately calling it now, they're taking center stage, which is our tagline relative to our new logo. So as I call your name, if you can come up here and be embarrassed, come up here. Chief Schaefer will be able to hand a packet to Glenn, perhaps, bag. They have their names on it. So we have a swag bag to welcome. And then we'll have some photo ops as part of this process. So first, we welcome George Rodriguez as an accountant in our finance department. If you give George a hand.
We're getting there, George.
The one with the.
Thank you. Congratulations.
So welcome to the city.
Welcome, George. And you stay up here. Also, as an accountant, Hernan Leyva Vargas.
Hey.
Welcome. Felicidades, amigo. Great. And also, as part of our finance team, Ashley Campos.
Hey.
Should mention that George and Hernan are accountants, and Ashley is a senior finance technician. Welcome, Ashley. Thanks. Working as an administrative assistant for our deputy city manager is Kristen Smith.
Mr. Trujillo finally has some help back there.
Yeah, he needed help.
All right. Congratulations. Yeah.
Great, Kristen. Thank you. We're not able to have Marissa Martinez Torres. She's a new dispatcher here with us, but certainly doing some important work. But we also have Jessica Bellman as an administrative assistant in community development. So,
Mr. Snyder has some assistants now, right?
and little known secret, Jessica, her husband's also a city employee in the police department.
Wow,
So,
great.
Great. So,
If you want to-
yeah,
move this way.
yeah, we're gonna have to create a,
Come on in. We gotta have to face this way.
just kind of find a home. And then Ashley's,
Come on over. I'm sorry, I wear the wrong clothes.
great. So
You know, you're fine. Come on in.
Great. Welcome, everyone.
welcome, welcome.
All right. You know, Indio is a construction site right now, and it's all because of the hard work of all those folks. So we appreciate the hard work. So we'll move on now to our report on City Council external and external boards. We can start with Councilmember Amit. Are you ready?
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a meeting with the Riverside County Board and National Day Festival where we did review the applications in response to our RFP for an operator of the fairgrounds. We are not ready to announce who that operator is, but we will disclose that it's an operator that has extensive experience in this area. So we hope to be able to disclose that soon and look forward to not only a 2023 fair and National Date Festival, but also many more activities and events at the fairgrounds. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity, and that completes my report.
Wow, that's some really good news. So great. Councilmember Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only one of my committees was active at Sunline Transit Agency, and we're in the middle of budget process for reviews, including some new shade structures and for our bus stops. So that's in the works, and we'll be finalizing the budget at our next meeting here in June. Also bought 3 ADA vans to help with transporting people in need that are disabled or seniors that need to get to appointments. So we bought 3 brand new vans, which are low emission vans for our community. And then we also bought a piece of property right next to Sunline, the actual back of the area where you look at the, it faces Ramon. And we're going to use it for a solar farm to be able to provide power for the rest of Sunline for all our agency. And that they have a grant from the federal government to be able to utilize that. And they're using a hydrogen cell right now, fuel with a generator, but this will give it to make it completely energy efficient without having any outside sources of energy. So that's great on Sunline's part. I think we all do a couple events too. We all went to the graduations, and congratulations to all our students, their parents, the teachers, and everyone for the graduations, not only from Indio High School, Shadow Hills, and also Amistad, which I think a lot of us were there, but for the other schools that our students go to, Xavier and some of the other schools. So congratulations to all the students and the parents and the teachers. Did a ribbon cutting for the Hampton Inn and Suites. We were all there for that. Another great addition to the city of Indio, especially with our city of festivals, having another hotel here in the city, an opportunity not only to capture TOT tax dollars, but at the same time also have them shop here in our great city and stop in on the way through onto other places. It's great to have. Groundbreaking, I'll let other people talk about, for our public safety campus coming many years. I think this Mr. Scott Trio, I see his head pop up there in the back. Great job on your part. But this comes from like 25 years of fruition of city councils, city managers and that working on this for many years, but it really comes to our taxpayers, our residents who believed in us and passed Measure X first and then Measure E to be able to give us the tax dollars that we wanted. We can talk about all the things we want to do, but without the support of our community, without them believing in us and passing that measure, we wouldn't be making public safety. We wouldn't be doing the streets. So thank you to our residents for what they do. And then lastly, I think all of us did Memorial Day events. We want to thank those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, our military individuals who lost their lives so that we have the freedoms we have. There's events all over the Coachella Valley, so much needed to remember not only our individual military people that lost their lives, but our veterans now, our first responders who put their lives on the line every day to make sure we have the freedoms we have. So we need to thank them daily and not just thank them on the one day. So also, Mr. Mayor, if we could, I'd like to adjourn the meeting in honor of all those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and for all the violence that's happening throughout our nation and the world. The people that were lost in Texas, Buffalo, and in Ukraine and other places. We're all on one under God. And we really need to realize that we are very blessed, not only in this country, but in this world to have the things we do. And we need to get along better. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the comments.
Thank you.
My turn. Okay, so most of my meetings were dark, but to echo what Councilmember Miller said, what an amazing couple of weeks for our community. Don't want to steal your thunder, Mayor. The police and fire facility groundbreaking was outstanding. It has been many years in the making, and it's just something so spectacular for our city, and absolutely could not have done it without our residents. And what an amazing facility that will be. It was probably the most exciting day in the 20 years that I've been in this community and beyond. So that's terrific. Yes, ribbon cutting for Hampton Inn. These folks opened the hotel in the middle of COVID. You know what? They have all the small business things you should do to be successful. Opening a hotel in the middle of COVID was not on that list. And this husband and wife team worked very, very hard, had some really significant challenges during that period, and made it through. And it's a beautiful facility for those of you that have friends or family that visit. The rooms are nice, they're spacious, they're well appointed. They have breakfast, meeting rooms, etc. That was very nice to see. Also, the Memorial Day celebrations throughout the Valley. It's always just such a sobering day to make sure that we do remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and those around us that ensure that from a day-to-day perspective, we can be who we are. Our voices can be heard. It's so important to who we are. And just, as we're talking about all the different things going around in our community, I was driving down Varner and that Kia dealership is about to open. So for those of you that want to buy a new car, might want to check out the Kia dealership in Varner. That's probably just a month or not too long before that place opens up. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my comments.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. This Monday, I as well attended on Memorial Day. I had the chance to attend the ceremony to honor our fallen soldiers at the Coachella Valley Cemetery. There were some great speakers, including Councilmember Miller, and a great performance by the CV High School Choir there. The previous week, I attended the Flying Doctors event at the Indio American Legion, and I wanted to thank all the volunteers who came to that event to provide free medical services to our veteran community. Here in Indio. It's great to see our community come together to support our veterans and their families and let them know that they're appreciated and a priority here in our community. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the graduation ceremonies for Amistad, Shadow Hills, and Indio High School. And I just wanted to send a big congratulations to all of our graduating seniors and their families and their teachers for their hard work in reaching this milestone that will help them become the next generation of leaders here in our community. We appreciate all their hard work, and we look forward to seeing what they'll accomplish next. I also got to attend the ribbon cutting for the new Hampton Inn and Suites in North Indio, and I got to congratulate the owners, Sejal and Pinang Bhakta, and thank them for their investment into our community. If you're looking for a place to stay in Indio, check them out. They have great workers, great service, and they also have some conference space there for work events. And that's all I have for today. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. And all continued in the spirit of the congratulations. I attended the California Desert Trail Academy graduation at Fantasy Springs. It's an annual event that we usually attend. It's our our only law school in the Coachella Valley, which is right around the corner from here. So that's a great staple in our community. And thank you to Mr. John Dolan for what he's doing over there. It's a great school. I've been over there to witness and also teach a couple of courses. And so really great ceremony. He always has great entertainment, and congratulations to the graduates. And that's a very, very big accomplishment, getting ready for the bar and getting them on their way. So another great graduation we had. Unfortunately, I missed the Amistad graduation, but I know Councilmember Miller always gives a scholarship, so I appreciate that, doing that for our community and supporting Amistad, their school. Great school. They have great programs, great students. And so we also want to continue to support them. I also attended the Indio High School graduation. Thank you to Mr. Lawson for having us. Great group of kids, over 400 kids graduating from our community. And so that's another great graduation. I also attended and at the keynote for Shadow Hills High School graduation. And that was another 400 plus students in our community. And what I tell all these kids, go out, spread your wings, get as much knowledge as you can in the world, and come back and continue to lead Indio into a prosperous future. And that's our goal. We want our students to come back after they go to college. So, and we're getting it shovel ready for them. So, I also attended the groundbreaking for the public safety campus, and that's super exciting. And as I already said, it's been years in the coming, many different council members, many city managers, and for us to have the opportunity to get the ball rolling on this. Thank you to our city manager and Scott Trujillo, who was leading the project on this. And so that was another great event. We had students from Roosevelt School there. We had a lot of former firefighters there, police officers who retired. And so that was such a great event. And what it's going to do, it's an investment in our community. Just think about when you go to work, how your living spaces, how your quarters are, especially in these times in the summer times or the temperatures get 100 plus. Just think about our first responders, what they have to go back to and then respond to when we call them for help. So we also have to support them as well. And this is an investment in our community that's going to aid in public safety. So we're super excited about that. And congratulations to our fire department, Station 86, and our Indio Police Department. We have Assistant Chief Schaefer here present with us. And so that's great for our police department. So that was super exciting for me. And I also attended the Memorial Day wreath placement ceremony at the Coachella Valley Public Cemetery. And it's such a great event. Thank you, Councilmember Miller, for emceeing that event. Also, thank you, our local American Legion, who was part of that event. Lots of veterans there, a lot of community members. And it's just in times that we're dealing with right now, and I have to say every generation deals with trials and tribulations in the world. But right now, what we're dealing with, we really have to come together and support each other. But when we talk about these great things going in our community, all the great development, all of our great kids and great students, there's somebody right now overseas in a foxhole protecting us, because as we can see right now, what's going on in Ukraine and some of the other parts of the world, if we don't have that protection, they'll come here too, and there's folks and entities preventing that from happening. So, it was just a great ceremony to pay homage and memorialize our veterans, and also our local veteran who lost his life in Afghanistan not too long ago was Hunter Lopez. His parents were in attendance. So it was just great to pay homage to him as well. And, I will conclude with, let's continue to come together and pray for those folks who are mourning the deaths of those 19 children and 2 school teachers who perished over senseless violence. And I think we all have to do some self-reflection and see what can we do, or what are we not doing to prevent these incidents from happening in our schools, in our public places. So I think we all have to find solutions for this. And it's just sad that this happens. And our YAC kids are in here right now, but when I do communicate with them, I want to stress with them also, when they're going about their business at school and activities, really seek out those kids who are in who don't excel in sports or in school and who are in the corner alone. Let's bring them in. We're all in this together, because a lot of times what's happening is those folks who stray off and, they're alone and they don't feel like they're part of society. And we need to bring those in. And this may not be the stage for this, but don't be afraid of believing in something higher, whether it's God or you have another religious belief. Don't be afraid of that. And we can't be afraid to teach our kids that as well. So I just want to send prayers to the folks in Texas, Buffalo, Orange County, and Ukraine. So that will conclude my report. And we will move on to item number 7, I'm sorry, which is city manager reports and information.
You mentioned Assistant Chief Schaefer, who's joined me on the staff dais here while Chief Washburn is on some vacation time, family time. So we welcome Chief Schaefer. Just a reminder to the community about our second Saturday event. It'll be held before our next city council meeting, and that'll be on the 11th, second Saturday of June. Some fun music, food, drink, the evening of June 11th. We welcome folks to attend and participate here on the corner of Miles and Smyrna. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Next item is item number 8, consent calendar. If no one wishes to pull any items, I will entertain a motion.
I have an item 8.15.
Excuse me, what was that?
8.15.
8.1, 8.5.
8.15. right.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So the second reading of ordinance number 1779, amending chapter 159 zoning regulations of Indio Municipal Code to allow cannabis storefront retailers and cannabis non-storefront retailer businesses in certain areas of the city, finding that the ordinance number 1779 is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15061B3. Mr. Snyder, will you be handling this?
Yes, Mayor, and City Attorney Diaz is also available to assist as well.
We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, City Attorney and Mr. Snyder. The ordinance is very vague, and I understand that this is just the ordinance to allow and details will come forward. But my concern is that really the only thing that this ordinance says is that retail sales will be allowed in commercial and in mixed use areas. And I think my concern is with mixed use areas more so than commercial, because mixed use areas include residential and abut residential dwellings. So I was wondering if a conversation needs to be had about the distance between retail sales of cannabis and a residence. And also, I particularly have concern over the regional commercial area surrounding the Carver Track area, where the CV Rescue Mission and the Martha's Village and the temporary shelters are. I wanted to know if those details will be something that we'll discuss in a future meeting, or by allowing this ordinance, it automatically allows for the usage in those areas.
So in terms of the mixed use district designation and reference, there was no specific conversation, council member, about delineation of a buffer or some sort of distance separation between residential and commercial uses. And that was reviewed by your planning commission. That issue did not come up, and it did not come up at the previous council meeting. But if this is something council would want to have addressed, we can certainly work. I can work with the city attorney on that. She may have some comments as well. And I don't know if she does. Doesn't look like it. And then
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, she doesn't have any, but I just
Sure.
wanted to ask council, did you guys take that into consideration when you approved the ordinance the first time around? I'm not sure that you looked at the general plan. I have looked at the general plan, and mixed use areas are abutting existing residential gated communities. And I am somewhat concerned that no buffer was discussed, and I'm particularly concerned about the community commercial adjacent to CV Rescue Mission that wasn't discussed. So I'm not opposed to the ordinance moving forward, but I would like to ask my colleagues if they share any of my concerns.
I think there may be a concern there, but there's a school there, so I think it's in close proximity that would prohibit any cannabis businesses in that area.
Not necessarily, because the school is bifurcated from the city land by the unincorporated land, which is Carver Track, and that exceeds any radius that we would prohibit the use from, because the neighborhood commercial follows Indio Boulevard, which doesn't necessarily align with the school. So that area is not protected by being close to the school.
City attorney, as far as the buffer, where would that start? Is that the property line of where the school's at? Would it start at the property line, or where would the buffer actually start?
It's the buffer starts at 600 feet, and it starts from the closest property line of the sensitive use to the closest property line of the cannabis business. So we would measure it from the outside to the outside. And I think if I can add, the general philosophy with respect to the mixed use is, and Mr. Snyder can jump in if he'd like, is to treat the cannabis retail as any other retail shop, and not to distinguish it from that type of, let's say there was a drugstore or CVS or any other type of similar type of use. And so not to stigmatize it or to call it out as something different, but just to treat it the same. I also think that just to clarify, the commercial land districts excludes neighborhood commercial. And then the last issue is that there's only a certain number of cannabis retail shops that will be permitted, and that's in that second ordinance. And so I think naturally you will have some separation, or it's the likelihood of something going into a particular area like that may not be high, because it looks like they may want more traffic and more visibility in some of the other zoning areas. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Well, the area around the CV Rescue Mission in Martha's Village around Carver Track is regional commercial.
Okay,
not
thank
neighborhood.
you.
So it does allow it. And there is no restriction because the school is way out. You would have to.
I think you're right on that, because I looked at that for another issue for the city several years ago with respect to the Coachella dispensary that is in that area.
So my recommendation is that we would consider excluding that particular area. And as far as neighborhood commercial or the mixed use, the mixed use, I understand city attorney's position that we should not consider cannabis business any different than we consider, a drugstore, a supermarket. So I really wouldn't have any issue with mixed use areas or perimeters. But I do have a question about, she mentioned a second ordinance. What is the second ordinance?
The second ordinance that follows is the one that we're discussing. We pulled off the consent is the zoning ordinance. And the second ordinance is the one that was brought by the consultant from HDL, and that's the regulatory ordinance. And so that regulates and provides all the regulations with respect to the cannabis business. The one before you right now sets the locations from a zoning perspective of where they'll be permitted.
So how would I propose that one area be excluded?
I think that if there's some consensus to bring that back, we can certainly bring that back separately. Because there is time in the sense that once the regulatory ordinance gets adopted and the zoning code gets adopted, our next step in the process will start to look at how we are going to put together the provisions on how to choose and how to accept applications and process those applications. And that will take several months to go through that. And so there is some time still. If there were tweaks to be made to either of the ordinances, it wouldn't delay the process. But to start all over with these two documents, we would be setting us back about 60 days because they would have to go back to the Planning Commission and coming back to the City Council. We wouldn't be able to just add that amendment right now in terms of buffer because it wasn't looked at by the Planning Commission or discussed previously.
So Mayor,
Yes.
I would need you to ask if anyone else has a concern about that area. I've expressed my concern, but if no one else has a concern, obviously it was 3-1 last meeting to pass this ordinance, but I'm calling out a specific concern that I think we need to readdress. And so you need to ask if there's anyone else that supports that position.
So I'll ask the council, is there a consensus to bring that item back for a buffer for that particular area?
So Lupe, you're worried about the rescue mission in Martha's Village, about anything being around them. So you want to buffer that whole area instead, is what you're trying to say, instead of just put 600 feet or 700 feet? Is that how I understand this?
Right, because the 600 or 700 feet don't apply because the county land exists between that commercial district and the school.
Okay. I don't know if we can do anything about the county anyways. If the county they have their own set of rules, we can't enforce them on them. I understand it. I just don't know if I want to set it back on that. We can't, city attorney, we can't put that into the language as we go forward.
No, because and one of the rules of construction with respect to zoning ordinances is that if you make a change that is a substantial change, it has to go back through the public hearing process. And we had a very, I think, robust discussion with respect to buffers as we were going through the study session process. And so this matter was never brought up. And so I think that it needs to go back through the public process so that those in that area or others can voice their concern or no concern or provide them an opportunity. But my suggestion is, if there's consensus, that we keep these two ordinances on track and then bring back something separately to amend it. And it would not change the timeframe that the city manager is looking at with respect to implementing the ordinance, accepting applications, because I think that they would run pretty close and concurrently to that.
I'm good with that.
City manager?
Yeah, perhaps an idea, and the city attorney might want to opine to it, is these resolutions that we discussed at the last meeting that would implement these ordinances. Perhaps we could include discouraging certain areas. There wouldn't be an exclusion by code, but the resolutions would discourage mixed use or areas surrounding the rescue mission. It wouldn't be codified, but it would send a message to the potential retailers that we're focusing on retail. It's just, that's one idea, without having to go back and change the ordinance.
And just to piggyback on that, in the way that I think that you would use that is if you do a point structure where you give points to applicants with respect to their application. And perhaps if they want to be in that area, then you would deduct points, not add points. And then that's just a thought off the top of my head of how to solve that issue.
I think that's an idea when we start to have the conversation about the selection process, if we're going to do that. But Councilmember Holmes, do you have any input on it?
I was the one that voted against it, but with respect to that particular area, it is a very sensitive area. In fact, I remember not too long ago remarking that there was a liquor store right across the street from the school. I'm very sensitive to anything being specifically in that area around that sensitive community.
So would you want to bring it back and create a buffer? Or are you okay with the language as the city manager?
I guess I'd like to create a buffer.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm okay with adding it in the resolution.
Okay, I'm fine with it now, and the reason why is it's not a desired location for a cannabis retail location. However, we haven't discussed a selection process yet, but I would entertain the idea of a point system, so to speak, if that's the direction that we go. However, if we come back and put a buffer zone there, then, you know, there might be another area that say, well, we want a buffer zone too. But we still have to look at it as it's going to be highly regulated. It's going to be very secure. And I just don't foresee any cannabis businesses going there. However, that doesn't mean it won't happen. And I'm also sensitive to the area, but I'm okay at where we're at now and creating some sort of point system if that's the direction we go on desired locations. So I don't think we have a consensus to bring it back, but
No, so you're going to have to accept a motion with excluding 8.15. So yeah, I would move consent calendar excluding 8.15.
we're not excluding it because we don't have a consensus to exclude it, correct? Or are we going to change?
There's
the language?
there's some of us that don't want. There's still some of us that don't want to vote for it.
We'll vote on the consent calendar.
Regardless of consensus.
So I think if Councilmember Amit, are you saying that is your thought to, we didn't officially pull this off the consent, it's still on the consent, is your thought to
pull it off and
pull this
vote
item,
separate.
pull 8.15 separately off the consent calendar, take a motion for the rest of the consent calendar, and then we would have a separate vote on this item, which we.
Right, that's why,
Okay.
I'm making a motion for consent calendar excluding 8.15.
So you're moving the consent calendar except for 8.15, which has been pulled off, and a separate vote will be taken on that. So that's your motion. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Amit and a second by Mayor Pro Tem, excluding 8.15. Could I get a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye with a nay on 8.6.
Okay.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz.
Aye.
And Mayor Furman.
Aye. The consent calendar passes with the exclusion of item 8.15, correct?
Correct. And now you would ask for a motion on 8.15.
So now can I get another motion on item 8.15?
All motion to approve item 8.15.
Second that.
And that would be a motion to approve ordinance
Right,
number
motion on the floor by Mayor
779.
Pro Tem Ortiz and a second by Councilmember Miller. Could I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes,
Nay.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz,
Aye.
and Mayor Furman.
Aye. The motion passes 3-2.
Thank you.
And that will complete the consent calendar. Okay. The next item is item 9, administrative items. And 9.1 is adopt a 2022 to 24 strategic plan. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been long discussed as something that would help guide city staff in getting things done, GSD, getting stuff done. So what's presented before you is a review of some key areas of focus. Certainly this may not include everything, nor do the action items include everything, but we know that these are some key goals that we have discussed that would help Indio become even a better community. And then specific action items, which is really the accountability from the city staff side, that if we accomplish these tasks over the next couple of years or the phases that are articulated in the action steps, we know we will be working toward those goals. So your approval would bless the document as it is, knowing that we continue to move forward and there could be some adjustments and other specifics as things change. But this guide will help us, again, to accomplish the things that we've been discussing over the last 9 to 12 months. So staff recommends approval of the document as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council? Any questions for the city manager on strategic plan?
I'll move approval.
Okay. Second. Got a motion on the floor by Councilmember Holmes and a second by Councilmember Miller. Could I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Hamid,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz,
Aye.
and Mayor Furman.
Aye. Motion passes. So thank you, city manager, for bringing us a great report and looking forward to making it happen. All righty.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this and staff too.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Great work.
Yeah, so the next item is a public hearing. So it's resolution number 10284 to declare and enact stage 2 of water shortage contingency plan. And that'll be handled by our IWA General Manager, Ray Trejo.
And today I'd like to introduce or reintroduce one of our most talented managers at IWA, and that's Michelle C. And she's going to give a presentation since this is a public hearing. And I will stand near her to answer any questions in the rare event that there's anything that she can't answer. She's in charge of our conservation program, and I've also aligned her with our regional planning efforts, because it does take a dedicated staff member to stay tuned with CVWD and others as we continue to go after the same grant funding, and we continue to put together planning documents such as the one that's going to be presented today at a regional level.
Thank you, Ray, for that reintroduction. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Again, my name is Michelle C. I am the Administrative Services Manager with the Indio Water Authority. The item before you this evening is resolution number 10284, and that is to declare stage 2 of the water shortage contingency plan. Just a little bit of background. Certainly the drought has been a topic of discussion and certainly in the media. And I'd like to take a moment to kind of provide some context in terms of chronology, timeline, where we're at with the drought, governor's actions and actions taken by the State Water Resources Control Board. A while back in October, there you go. The governor had declared a statewide drought declaration. Prior to that, the governor was kind of implementing that on a county by county basis based on water shortage levels and such. And it was not until January earlier this year, the State Water Resources Control Board decided to adopt a resolution that essentially prohibits wasteful water practices. Many of us here already practice that in terms of, using a shutoff nozzle when using a hose and that sort of thing, no excess runoff. And that is consistent with what we're promoting, advocating in terms of conservation as a way of life. Fast forward to March of this year, the governor issued an executive order, that's N-7-22, that basically directed the State Water Resources Control Board to enact additional emergency drought regulations, given the ongoing continued drought conditions. So some of the things at that time that was mentioned by the governor was to enact stage 2 of the water shortage contingency plan, as well as restrict watering of non-functional turf. And I'll elaborate on this on the next slide. But in terms of timing, during the time in between, there was draft proposed language in terms of what that would look like, as well as an implementation timeline by June 10th. And with that, staff worked to get this item on today's meeting to provide the public hearing, including the notice of public hearing that was published on May 20th. And then 4 days later, the State Water Board conducted their meeting and provided their final determinations of what the next steps would look like in terms of emergency drought regulations. And because of the timing, the city clerk did present kind of a modified or a redlined version of what those amendments are to the resolution. And that's to align with the most recent determination made by the State Water Resources Control Board, which I'll elaborate on the next couple of slides here. I had mentioned the water shortage contingency plan, and just as a reminder, this document or this plan was approved about 1 year ago. And essentially, this is a document that outlines steps in the event of a projected or anticipated water shortage. This was approved in conjunction with a 2020 Regional Urban Water Management Plan. It's a water resource long-term planning document that was done in conjunction with the other water agencies in the region. And around that same time, we had also amended our municipal code to align these water shortage contingency plan stages. Again, this may seem familiar to some of you. So the water shortage contingency plan consists of 6 stages, and depending on what the projected water shortage is, depending up to 10%, anywhere to anything greater than 50%, there's a list of what they call demand water reduction actions. And based on the approach would be such that in the event a certain stage is declared, it would be a cumulative increased number of water use demand restrictions. So in this case, if we're talking about up to 20% or stage 2, it'd be everything identified in stage 1 in addition to stage 2, just for frame of reference here. And when this was originally adopted, the intention of a water shortage contingency plan is to provide tools and a framework for which water agencies can use to address these water shortages. However, with the recent State Water Board meeting that happened last week, their determination was to essentially direct all water agencies to implement everything that was listed in stage 2. So there was none of that flexibility that we had talked about that was planned for originally. So just for frame of reference, here is the stage 2 demand water use reductions. So this includes things like outdoor water use is prohibited during daylight hours for spray irrigation, except for leak checks. Restaurants to serve water upon request, discourage overseeding, reduce outdoor water budget by 10%. And I wanted to notate that that was one item that's highlighted in the red line version of the amended resolution. And part of on the communications and outreach, it would be to expand the public information campaign, encourage the use of non-potable water for construction if possible, increase water waste patrols, and that would be done by staff, and then reduce hydrant and dead end line flushing, which is more related to kind of on the water operation side. And we will do that to the extent possible without compromising water quality. In addition to the water use, stage 2 water use stage level, the other additional restriction that the State Water Board is directing is to restrict watering of what they define as non-functional turf in the commercial, industrial, and institutional areas. And by non-functional, it is defined as turf areas that are not regularly used for human recreational purposes or for civic or community events, with the exception that if there's turf and there's trees in the area and or non-turf plantings, then watering may continue. So with that said, that's kind of a highlight and update in terms of the final determinations made by the State Water Board. And as such, the amended resolution with the red lines kind of indicate what those amendments are based on the outcome from last week's meeting. So this evening, staff is requesting to adopt the resolution number 10284 as amended, reflected to include the outdoor water budget by 10% as part of the stage 2 demand reduction actions, and include the State Water Resources Control Board's definition of non-functional turf as turf to be defined that is solely ornamental, not regularly used for human recreational purposes or for civic or community events. And the use of water is not prohibited to the extent necessary to ensure the health of trees or other perennial non-turf plantings, or to the extent necessary to address an immediate health and safety need. So with that said, that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. This is a public hearing item, so I will open up the public hearing and ask Ms. Sanchez, our clerk, if we have any one online.
We have no comments, Mayor.
Have no comments online. We have no one present, so I will close the public hearing and open it up to council for any questions, comments, or.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I get a couple quick questions. So we're talking about the reduction of 10%. So we're talking about residential 10%, you said, but it said commercial, industrial and that. So are we talking about recreational areas? Like we're obviously not the parks and other stuff. So it was kind of contradictory to what it kind of says. So is it people's houses, they've got to shut everything off, or is it 10%? Because it's, when you start talking about this, all somebody has to do is put a tree in the middle of their yard and they can keep the grass on. They can keep the water on. That doesn't seem somewhat fair. Or if they have a couple of roses that are connected to their grass, then they can keep their water on. So I think it needs to be communicated a little bit better. And then secondly, when we're talking about golf courses and other stuff, a lot of them are on canal water, which isn't, or recycled water, which isn't any part of this. And I think people need to know that, because you're going to have people coming from Terra-Lago. They're going to see the water flying and it's canal water. There's different restrictions for different people. And it's confusing for a lot of people that watch their grass and their plants die. And that's what happened last time when we had, I'm more giving a speech now than I think asking the question, but that's what happened last time with a lot of trees. And then 2 years later, all these trees died and people are trying to figure out why their landscaper killed the trees off. It didn't do it. It happened from the 2 years before when they shut the water off and it finally connected with the tree and it killed the ring and everything else. So where does this actually fit in?
I'm going to take a stab at this. So in terms of the State Water Board's direction to restrict watering for non-functional turf, that would be areas that are in the commercial, industrial, and institutional. So for the example of golf courses, they are considered recreational locations. So therefore, they would not be part of this. Outdoor watering restriction. I think one of the lessons learned from the previous drought was recognizing that, trees do play an integral role, and recognizing that in areas where trees exist, they have made an exemption to continue to be able to water that area to ensure the livelihood of those trees. Did I answer?
Maybe,
sure.
I'll speak to the first question that you asked about the 10% specifically. And the 10% that we adopted in the water shortage contingency plan is what Michelle described. It's actually a 10% reduction in the outdoor water budget for residents. Okay. And we'll continue to monitor that. In fact, we already monitor that as part of our various budget tiers. So anyone that exceeds their outdoor tier will start paying the following tier, which is tier 3. Okay. So that's a signal already. And we do have a system that allows us to send letters to the customers to give them that warning. The letter, Michelle, is going to craft a letter so that it offers solutions, what I do now. And part of those solutions are reduce your timing of watering. Another solution is apply for some turf removal programs. So it's everything that Michelle is dedicated to. The last comment I'll make generally is that these actions are intended for the whole state. And as you drive from Northern California to Southern California, Orange County, San Diego, and Michelle and I had the discussion earlier today, anticipating this question, is that in the valley out here, we already have desertscape. We're well prepared for these actions. And it's a one size fits all action that the governor's taking, that the state's taking. And I'd have to report that we're in a very good position to address those actions in a way that it's not going to negatively impact us at stage 2.
No, I appreciate that. And I just want to make sure that the clarification, because when it said commercial and other stuff, because you look at a lot of these properties, especially the ones that are along the canal, there's a lot of housing tracts that are that, and people go by. And what happens is they see the water out in front flying. Let's just use Las Brisas North. I'll use the example because it's by the canal. They're using canal water and that. So they're watering their grass. The other people see their property dying off because they're following the rules, and it's not educated to them of what the difference is. And it's very difficult to explain to people. And the same thing when they see water on the city and they see it in the mediums running off and they see water and they're like, well, the city's telling us we have to stop and cut back water. But I drove by and at 8 o'clock in the morning, the water was on in the city, and we're off recycled water, or we're off, canal water. And it's very difficult for people. And that's why I said, I think a little bit it's going to be education, and that's difficult for everybody. And we've done a great job of it, but the way it was written, I think it just kind of makes it sound like 10%. Is it 10% for everything else? I mean, we should all conserve. I agree, but thank you. I appreciate that. And you guys have done an amazing job.
Great.
Yeah, I think I would also just emphasize the educational point. If we could, definitely do the outreach on social media and separate out the restrictions between businesses and residents and what all these numbers mean so that we can make it easier for us to communicate it with our residents there.
Yeah. Great. No further questions or comments. I'll entertain a motion.
Do you have to approve the amended one?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had
The amended version.
Yes, you would just make a motion to adopt the resolution as amended.
I'll motion to adopt the resolution as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz and a second by Councilmember Holmes. Can I get a
Councilmember Holmes,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz,
Aye.
and Mayor Furman.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, we get next item is item 10.2, Certificate of Public Convenience of Necessity, and that's PNC 21-10-9 for Indio Sports Bar located at 44221 Jackson Street, Suite B, Indio, California 92201 to allow the on and off premises sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. This Mr. Snyder be handling this.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of City Council, Kevin Snyder, Director of Community Development. Maribel Covarrubias, Assistant Planner, is at the podium, and she will be giving you a staff report and answering any questions before you open the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, all. Thank you, Mr. Snyder, for that intro. I will be speaking tonight on item 10.2, which is a request for approval for a certificate of public convenience or necessity for issuance of a Type 42 license to allow the on and off premises sale of beer, wine, and of distilled spirits at El Indio Sports Bar. And the applicant for this project is Ms. Ashley Suarez. The sports bar is located on Jackson Street, just south of Avenue 44. The bar is proposed to occupy a single unit within an existing multi-tenant commercial building, which contains 3 separate units. The other 2 units are occupied by the Kowloon Chinese restaurant and a beauty/barbershop. The property is located within the community commercial zone, and within the zone, a bar is a permitted land use. Furthermore, the project site is generally surrounded by neighborhood, regional, and community commercial land uses. The sports bar is located within census tract number 0453. .03, and within this census tract, the California Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control, also known as ABC, permits a total number of 2 licenses, and currently there are 5 ABC licenses accounted for. What you see before you is a list of them, and included in the list are 3 restaurants, 1 other sports bar, and an indoor soccer facility. Also, it should be noted that this same unit was previously operating as a sports bar under a different ownership and name. Additionally, California state law does allow ABC to issue a license if the legislative body of the area in which the premises are located grants approval. And based on the information submitted by the applicant, a review of the site plan and floor plans for the business and consultation with the Indio Police Department, staff recommends that the City Council approve the applicant's request for a determination of a public convenience or necessity. Thank you, and I will conclude my presentation.
Great, thank you. This is a public hearing item, so I will open up the public hearing and ask the clerk, do you have anyone online?
No, Mayor, no comments.
Okay, I will close the public hearing, and before I ask the council, would the applicant like to speak? Applicant present, or? I thought the applicant was online. No? Okay, well, then I'll open up the council.
Mayor, yes, you are correct. Ashley, let me put her as a panelist. Ashley, can you hear me? Okay, she's now on Zoom.
Hi, this is me.
Thank you, Ashley.
Well, Ashley, we're just asking if you have any comments you'd like to make before the council deliberates on this item.
No, I have none.
Okay, then I'll open it up to the council if they have any questions or comments or.
I just have a question. One thing that always throws me in a loop is the on and off premises. This is a bar. That whole off premises phraseology is always a concern.
It's actually not correct. It's supposed to be on.
So it's, what is this? That says type 42?
42.
Okay. Type 42 on.
On or off?
So I believe it's supposed to be just on the premises, correct?
Yes, correct.
On premises.
Roxanne, we have
Yeah.
to note that.
So it's, I'm reading online that it says to sell or beer and wine for consumption, both on or off the premises were sold. So I believe the type 42 is on and off.
I'm taking a look at it right now.
I think a relevant factor as mentioned is that there was a sports bar here previously, and
yeah,
I think it's a pretty prevailing factor.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but I think council members is asking for clarification on this.
To clarify, it is for on sale only, type 42 license.
I'm not reading that myself.
Yeah, so I'm reading the same thing that the mayor is reading as well. I think what I would do is just revise the title to just that we would be approving the type 42 license. It's indicates that it authorizes the sale of beer and wine for consumption on or off the premises were sold. No distilled spirits may be on the premises.
Right.
So it's beer and wine only.
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
So, and that's, yeah, and there was an existing property there, so.
That's fine.
Yeah, so it's fine with the clarification.
Totally good.
And when
So-
you're ready to make the recommendation, I can help you with that because it added distilled spirits and that's not correct.
You want me to take off the off and the distilled spirits? Okay.
Yes, so what it would be is to approve the certificate of public convenience and necessity for a type 42 license at the Indio Sports Bar. And that would be, and just end it at the address and that would be it. You would not include to allow the on and off premises of sale, beer, wine, and distilled spirits because you're just approving the type 42 and that would speak for itself. There's no need for us to add that verbiage.
I'll make the motion to approve the request for certificate of public convenience or necessity for issuance of type 42 license for L's Indio Sports Bar located at 44-221 Jackson Street, Suite B, Indio, California, 92201.
I'll second that.
And a motion by Councilmember Miller and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz. Could I vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz.
Aye.
And Mayor Furman.
Aye, the motion passes. Welcome, Indio Sports Bar.
Thank you.
Ready. So thank you for the presentation. Oh, you got the next one too? Okay, we're gonna do the whole formal thing, so I gotta start over now, okay? So the next item is 10.1, resolution number 10285, approving tentative parcel map number 38293, TMP 21-11-413 to subdivide a 5.66 acre parcel into two separate parcels located at 78550 Varner Road. And what says Mr. Snyder, but you'll be handling this.
So this item here is for a tentative parcel map 38293, also known as the Fiesta Kia project. And the applicant is Mr. Paul Theo. The property is located off of Varner, surrounded by residential to the northwest, and then the Toyota auto dealership to the east, as well as the I-10 freeway situated south of the site. The purpose of the tentative parcel map is to, one, subdivide a single parcel measuring 5.66 acres into two separate legal parcels, namely parcel 1 and parcel 2, and 2, to create parcel 2, which may then become a sellable parcel for the applicant in the future. And as shown here in this image, parcel 1 will measure 3.77 acres and parcel 2 will measure 1.88 acres. And the map also illustrates the location of the proposed lot line, which you can see here. And presently, parcel 1 of the overall project, which is highlighted in the orange color there, is the Kia auto dealership, which is currently, as Ms. Holmes pointed out earlier, it is almost complete. And however, that project was previously entitled and approved and is not a part of this subdivision consideration tonight. As mentioned, parcel 2 will serve as an option for the potential of a future development, which will require separate entitlements and a conditional use permit upon development at that time. And to conclude, staff recommends approving resolution number 2021 that would allow the subdivision of a single parcel into two separate parcels, and to determine that the project is exempt from CEQA under Class 15 minor land division. Thank you. That will conclude that presentation.
Okay. This is a public hearing item, so I will open the public hearing and ask the clerk, do we have anyone online for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Okay, we have no one online. We have no one present. I will close the public hearing, and I was going to make the correction on it. The resolution number is incorrect, right?
They said 2021.
Yeah, it says 2021, the resolution number, but the resolution number is actually 10285. So it's okay. Is the applicant online if they want to speak or present? Huh? It's good old technology.
Mr. Ruby, if you have any comments, you may do so now.
Hello, Mr. Ruby. I don't know, there's no comments. Okay. So I'll open it up to council for any questions or comments. If there's no question or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion and adopt resolution number 10285, approving tentative parcel map number 38293, TPM 21-11-413 to subdivide a 5.66 acre parcel located at 78550 Varner Road, Indio, California, 92203 into two separate parcels, finding the projects exempt from environmental review pursuant to section 15315 minor land divisions of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines.
And I will second that.
We have a motion by Councilmember Miller, second by Councilmember Holmes. Could I have a vote, please?
Councilmember Holmes? Councilmember Holmes?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramos Amit?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ortiz?
Aye.
And Mayor Furman?
Aye. Motion passes. So we will move on to item 11, which are public items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments?
No comments, Mayor.
Okay, I have none in the queue. And so we'll move on to our next council meeting. A joint meeting with IWA will be June 15, 2022. And I'd like to adjourn this meeting in the memory of all the lives that were lost in Texas, Buffalo, Orange County, and Ukraine. And I just got another alert that we did have another active shooter today in Kansas. So just continue to keep our country and everyone in prayer. And I'd like to end this meeting in their memory.